Please subscribe my YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another updates from my YouTube channel.
Hello friends, welcome back. I hope like everyone is doing good. Today I'm going to talk about Spring Boot AOP. AOP is nothing but aspect oriented programming. Basically AOP will break the code into different modules. Okay, this is called as concern. And we will have like two things here. One is concern and cross-cutting concern. Coming to the cross-cutting concern is a concern which applicable throughout the application. Okay, and this affects like the entire application. So for example, logging, security, transaction management, data validation, okay, all this comes under the cross-cutting concerns. And so let me open my PPT here. So before we are going to demonstrate this AOP, so we would like to know AOP terminologies. Okay, here we have AOP Aspect. So basically AOP Aspect is a class that implements enterprise application concerns that cut across the multiple classes such as a transaction management, logging, security, okay, data validation. Okay, so coming to the aspects, basically we can implement this aspect by using two ways. One is like, so aspects are implemented regular classes using Spring XML configuration, and regular classes annotated with the @aspect annotation on the top of your classes. So that is AspectJ style. So I'm going to demonstrate this AspectJ style here. Okay, so let me go back to my code. Okay, this is my simple application. I have two controllers here. One is employee controller. In the employee controller I have two endpoints. One is for saving and find by ID. And the same thing in the department controller, I have to save the department and to find by ID. So these two endpoints are there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write one aspect here. Okay, and let's create one package aspect. Inside the aspect package, so I want to write one aspect class here. Okay, let's write general interceptor aspect. Okay, so this is aspect. So basically this aspect will treat as servlet filters or like Spring interceptors. It's like, okay, this aspect also will intercept your request, and if you want to do something before reaching the request to your controller, so we can do it here. Okay, and so what you need to do is basically before you are going to do this, so you need to add, okay, Spring AOP dependency. Okay, Spring Boot Starter AOP dependency, and once you add it, so the AOP related dependencies will add in your class path, and after that you can write your aspect class here. Okay, this is aspect. And so join point is a point during the execution of a program, such as the execution of a method or the handling of an exception or declaring variables in method. Okay, but Spring AOP basically will support execution of method only. Okay, and after that we have point cut. So point cut is nothing but a predicate that matches the join points advice associated with the point cut expression and runs at any join point matched by the point cut. Okay, basically this point cut will be declared on the top of the methods. Okay, so this is a expression language. Okay, by using expression language it will execute our methods. Spring framework uses a AspectJ Pointcut expression language. And if you take an example, the execution of a method with a certain name. Okay, so that is the example of Pointcut. And AOP advice, basically advices are actions taken for a particular join point. Okay, basically these advices we will write on top of the methods. So we have couple of advices, that is like before advice. So before advice in the sense like advice that executes before a join point. Okay, and after returning advice, so after returning advice to be executed after a join point completes normally. Okay, for example, like if method returns without throwing an exception. So if it is throwing an exception, if method is throwing an exception, then we can use after throwing advice. Basically, this after returning advice we will declare with the help of @ of after returning. So coming to the after throwing, we will declare @ of after throwing, and we have after finally advice as well. So this after finally advice to be executed regardless of the means by which the join point exists, best because the combination of after returning and after throwing we can use after finally advice. Okay, so if the execution normal or like exceptional return, then we can use this after finally advice. And finally we have around advice. If your join point wants to be executed before method and the after method, then we can use around advice. This is the most powerful kind of advice. Okay, so this is AOP terminologies, and let's go back to our code. So we have declared the aspect, right? So now I want to declare one point cut. So let's take public, let's maximize this, void. Okay, so let's take logging point cut. Okay, this point cut, so we will declare it the rate of point cut here. Okay, so inside that we have to provide, so I'm going to take, so we have like point cut expression language. So different types of point cut designators are available. I'm going to explain that. So let's take this. So let's say that okay, I want to be execute. So whenever we are executing like save method, okay, so then we have to print some logging. Before this method, it has to print some logging. So how we are going to achieve that? Because this class is available in this package, right? So let's copy this, and okay, so if you see this, so execution and star means any return type which is available in this package, controller package, and we have class name. Okay, after that method name, 0 or more arguments. That's it. Okay, the point cut is ready now. Now we need advice, right? So let's take public void, so logging, otherwise I will take before, so this will take joined point. Okay, join point basically, and here, so let's take SL4J. Okay, this is Lombok logging annotation, guys. So log dot info, so we can add before method invoke. Okay, so if you want to see, okay, and this join point will have couple of methods, get arguments are signature. Okay, let's take signature here. So now we have to be declared on the top of before. Okay, so this before advice will take this point cut. Okay, because we already declared the point cut in this method, so let's copy this method, guys. Let's paste here. Okay, so our before advice is ready. The same thing we will write it for after. Let's take after. Okay, this is after method. Okay, so now, So this should be declared as at the rate of component. Okay, and that's it guys. So let's start this application. Okay, it is throwing. Okay, it is throwing some error guys, and let's go back to department. Okay, okay, department service I forgot to declare as at the rate of service. Okay, that's fine, and let's start this application again. Okay, application is started successfully. Now let's open our postman, and this is our body. So here I have something techno town techie. Okay, and let's take department as well. So this is IT. Okay, okay, let's hit this endpoint. Okay, so it successfully saved the data, and let's go back to our console. And if you see here, okay, so we have added like two advices, right? One is before and after. So this is executed before method invoked, and it is written, okay, this signature, and the same thing after method also invoked, and it return this signature. Okay, so that means like before and after advice are executed successfully. And let's go back to our intersector aspect. So now, okay, so what we can do is, so instead of after, so I would like to discuss about after returning and after throwing. Okay, so after returning, so let's copy this. Let's comment out this. Okay, basically the after returning, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this returning. Okay, otherwise I will employee here. Okay, so this is returning employee, and so if you want to print out, you can print here. Okay, and so this is one way of like using the point cut guys. Okay, so the point cut we can use it inside the advice as well, or like we can write it separate method as well. Okay, and this is after returning, and I have one more advice, that is after throwing. Okay, after throwing, so this is throwing. Okay, so basically the throwing will take exception. Okay, me dot get message. So yeah, that's it. So the throwing will take here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to employee controller. Okay, so inside the employee controller, what I'm going to do is we have two methods, right? One is like for saving, another one is find by id. So here find by id, I have employee service. So here if the id is not finding, I'm just throwing null here. So instead of that, what I'm going to do is I'm just taking else throw here. Okay, so basically what it will does is else, uh, it will throws some runtime exception, that is like if the id is not found, it will throws no such element exception. This no such element exception is extends the runtime exception. Okay, if you see here, this is the runtime exception. That's fine. So we should not write any code here because already it is built in code. So now, okay, So this after returning and after throwing is two methods are available now. Let's restart our application. Okay, application is started guys. Let's go back here and I'm executing this method again. Okay, it is success, and go back to our console, and if you see here after method is invoked. So in the normal case it just printing that after method is invoked, and after that it is returning employee. So the returning employee is a response. Okay, so this method, so it is returning the employee. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute this after throwing. Okay, now let's go back to our endpoint and let's execute this get mapping. Okay, I'm just searching with employee id 1 hit. Okay, so if you search here, so it will return the data because this is normal case. In the case of normal case, I will execute this after method and it is returning the response. Right now let's say that we don't have id 2, and what will happen, it will throws that no such element exception. So it should be executed or after throwing advice. Let's execute this and let's go back to your code, and if you see here, see this after method is invoked and no value is present. Okay, that means like after throwing is executed. Okay, so that's how it will work guys. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain. So around advice. Okay, coming to the around advice, so instead of writing like before and after methods, okay, I will write only one single method. Okay, that is arrow. So let's copy this. Okay, this is not required, so let's comment out this. So let's copy in one of the method. Okay, and let's come back here and paste it. Okay, here let's take around advice. Okay, so this around advice will take proceeding join point. Okay, proceeding join point, so it will return basically object guys, object. And so if you take join point dot proceed, we have to be execute this proceed method. Okay, this will return object. Okay, and it will throws some exception. Let's throw that, and after that, so let's return object here. Okay, before execute this join point dot proceed, it will return the request. After executing this, it will return the response. So now basically it is returning. Let's write some logic here. If object instance of employee, okay, join point dot get signature. Okay, what if object instance of, so we have department as well, right? So let's take department. Okay, copy this. Okay, that's it guys. So what I did is basically I took like around, okay, around advice. So this is the around advice, and I have already point cut, that is logging point cut here, and here I just took the preceding join point. Okay, so this join point has to be proceed, method, so it is returning like object. This object will have let's say that if you are executing like multiple endpoints, if it is instance of one model, then you can return something here and you can get it the signature. Okay, so this is how you can write it this around advice here. And let's restart your application. Application is started, guys, and let's go back here. And now okay, let's post this. Okay, let's come back here. And if you see here, this time like with around advice we have executed before method and after method, right? So if you see here, we have employee signature, employee signature. And if you put like employee dot join point dot get arguments. Okay, so let's take 0 arcs. Okay, basically I'm taking the arguments here, and let's restart this application and let's demonstrate here. Okay, application is started, and let's execute this. And so come back to your console. If you see now, so this time we are seeing like request and the response. Okay, before method is invoked. Here if you see the request, in the case of request we are passing id as 0 and name is Technotown Tech and department is id. And after method is invoked, in the case of response we are getting id as 1 here and the name and the department. Okay, so that means like it's working fine. And now let's go back to your general interceptor aspect. So we have like different types of point cut designator. Okay, this is one way of using, and we have like another way. So this is execution, right? So let's say that another way is we can use within. Okay, so within means like, so within the package. So let's say that service, let's remove this. Okay, so within this service package, if we want to execute within the service package, let's say that we have department service and uh, employee service, so it will execute two services here, right? So let's start this application and test this. Okay, it is throwing error, guys. At character position point cut not well defined. Okay, I forgot to close that brace. Okay, it is started, guys, and let's go back to code and execute this. Okay, and let's come back to your console. If you see here, so before method is executed and after method is executed here. And let's go back to your postman and execute the departments. And execute this. Let's come back to your console. See this department request and department response, right? This is working fine. So if you want to execute, so within the sub package, okay, this is the service package. If you want to execute within this sub package, how you are going to achieve this? So let's remove this and you can put like, okay, like this. That's it. So this is another way of like executing this point cut. And so let's comment out this and let's copy this, and I'm going to explain another way. Okay, so we have this. Okay, so if you want to be execute department service only, not like employee service, so let's copy this, come back here, let's maximize this, let's paste this package, and you can define, okay, department service like this. Okay, it will execute for only department service, not for the employee service. Okay, like this you can mention the point cut here. And
So the final way I'm going to explain here is, so when you have like custom annotation, okay, so let's say that you have some custom annotation. So how you are going to be execute that? uh, so before that, let's write one custom annotation here. Okay, inside annotation package, so let's write one custom annotation here. Okay, so basically it's going to be take retention policy is runtime, and we need target basically will take like on top of like what we are going to be do. So on top of methods, or like on top of like classes, or what kind of target like you need. Why it is throwing error? Okay, sorry guys, actually it should create as annotation. Let me delete this. I just created as a class. So let's create again. Let's take Java class and let's take annotation. Okay, let's take custom annotation. Okay, so now let's paste these two things here, target and retention period. Okay, so that's it. So now what I'm going to do is, let's go back to your department controller or department service, and what I'm going to do is go to department service. So if I want to be execute only in the case of find by id, so let's annotate with custom annotation. That's it. And now go back to your aspect here. So we have to provide annotation. Okay, so that annotation is available in which package? This package, right? So let's copy this package and come back to interceptor and paste here, and our package and our annotation name, that is custom annotation. That's it. Now let's restart your application. Application is started guys, and let's go back to your code, and now I'm just inserting data. Okay, let's insert some data again. Okay, it inserted successfully, and come back here. If you see here, so our join point is not executed here, right? And because we have put that custom annotation on the top of only find by id method, not here. Okay, so now let's execute find by id. Let's take get mapping here and let's hit this. Okay, it's written the data, and go back here, and if you see here, okay, we are able to see our aspects. So general interceptor aspect, before method is invoked, after method is invoked. Okay, if you see, our id is 1 here, right? So this is how we can use the custom annotation. So basically this AOP we will use for like logging and transaction management, and for security, and for like data validation. Let's say that if you want to be do some validation, so in the top of the classes on the methods, so we can centralize the code in one class, and what we can do is we can write some logic inside that method, and we will provide like some endpoints wherever that is we will provide some point cuts, and wherever that validation is required, that kind of point cuts we will write like this, and we will return that kind of validations there. That's it. So this is how we can write it guys. So if you need like validation as well, so real-time application validation, please comments in the comment section. I will try to do it in the next video. Okay, so I hope like you guys are enjoyed this video. So that's it guys. So thanks for watching. Bye, have a good day.